Hello, everybody. I'm Vaishali Presmari. I'm going to give a talk on tuppence coloured making traditional toy theatre colours. And I have a cold, so please bear with me with the sniffles. Right. So this is a print from a traditional toy theatre, which is Reddington Stagefront. So I'm actually doing a residency with Pollux now remotely. Hang on, I'll do. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, here we go. You can all see that. So start again. I'm doing a residency, which started off as a physical residency with Pollux Toy Museum, and now it's a remote one, looking at the toy theatre archives and making my own eventually, which is a toy theatre for the 1001 Nights, collapsing all 1001 tales into my own. So looking at the archives of the Orientalist toy theatres, Victorian toy theatres, and making my own from traditional techniques and using miniature painting, which is something I specialized in. And the one I'm making actually comes particularly from this Reddington's design here, so it's particularly apt. This is printed by Pollux from an original plate, and I'll use this as the colouring in for this demonstration. So I'm interested in the ways the Victorians coloured their toy theatres as well. So this is what this talk is about. Recreating a classic toy theatre palette and painting a toy theatre using traditional colours. Now, I know it's 10 minutes long. They were called a penny plain or tuppence coloured, meaning the penny plain was half price because it wasn't coloured in. You could do that yourself at home. The coloured versions were the full price. And only 4 colours were used. This is surprising. So the first colour I'll go into is gamboge. Now, I made some earlier. Now this is the gamboge. It is a poisonous colour, so just to know about that. I'm moving a bit. Gamboge sounds like Cambodia. It is actually they are related because this pigment, which comes from resin, comes from a tree from Southeast Asia, and actually this is one of the traditional colors that Buddhist monks used to dye their clothes. The Theravada Buddhists from Southeast Asia in particular. It was also used in medieval European times for illumination, so it's a beautiful yellow color. It will come. It looks a bit brown here. It can range in color from brown to kind of a saffron yellow. It's also not light fast, not very kind of a long lasting one, and it's poisonous. However, having said it's poisonous, I'm also interested in colors as medicine, so I'll talk and paint. This color can also be used apparently for some medicines, as you know, one man's poison is another person's medicine. It's used in slimming remedies apparently, although I don't recommend it because a huge dose of this is fatal. Having said that, it can be used as medicine. So this is the yellow. You see, as soon as you add water to it, it looks like this. I'll put it in a palette because we're going to do another experiment later, which is hopefully something interesting for you from the toy theatre tradition. So you have the 4 colors that we use, and we also have kind of what I would call mediums. So you have, for example, and these are trade secrets, by the way, these recipes which don't exist. So I'll just mention what we know now. They use things like, of course, we're going to add water. We are adding water to this now. They also added ox gall, which is a traditional watercolor what's it called, surfactant, which makes the colors kind of spread. Then that ox gall is also used in marbling. Ammonia as well. Beer, I just checked, I actually don't have any beer, so we can't do that. But what we will do is add some. They also used egg and something else, which hopefully is surprising. So let's paint a little bit. The other reason I was thinking about this, why they weren't so particularly worried about it being light fast, was because the whole toy theatre was kind of a bright and quick art form. You know, it's a toy theatre. It's designed to. Let's paint her robe. Yeah, be some kind of it's also on paper. The really nice ones. I mean, the English royalty had toy theatres as well, so it wasn't just, you know. And that's the yellow of the gamboge. But yeah, kind of quicker art form, not so serious, even though sort of elite Victorian children would play with these. Robert Louis Stevenson, he was the one who said, if you like art, folly, and the bright eyes of children, speak to Pollock. So he loved the toy theatre. It also has a kind of darker side because the people who paint the toy theatres might also have been the children, poorer children, so there's all the Victorian history wrapped up in this. And in a way, world history, because you have the Orientalist traditions and the colors like gamboge, which were already in use. So that's gamboge 1. Now, the thing I wanted to try was to add in some sugar. So this is one of the secret ingredients. So this is caster sugar. They said sugar, so I'm not sure which kind of sugar actually, but I've got some caster sugar, so we'll try that. What they wanted the toy theatre to do was have the colors to do was have this kind of bright, glistening quality. So maybe add some, make a kind of sugar paste. So I'll put the sugar in here. And we'll see if it makes it glisten a bit. I wanted the colors to be bright and not so matte. I put in quite a lot of sugar, so hopefully it might work. So we'll see. It does, yeah, that's thinned it out quite a bit. So with the 4 colors that we'll go into, they can also, of course, be mixed with each other to create all the hues of the toy theatre. Now, funnily enough, there are no, from what we know, they didn't use earth colors and they didn't use mineral or rock colors, which are quite long lasting. Those mineral colors tend to be expensive. So, for example, one of my favorites, malachite, or this is malachite. I'll just show you, but we won't use it because I didn't. Malachite, or azurite, or lapis, or colors like that, mineral colors. They didn't use those apparently, and the earth colors. So that's not represented in toy theatre. So we have a plant color, which is this gamboge. Like I said, this feeling of being quite quick and fast because they would churn them out. These weren't sort of high art forms, for a better word. These were churned up. So that's the yellow. The second color is Prussian blue. So I just have because these dark colors, when you make it yourself, I have made this myself, but it eats a lot of gum arabic and it's more fiddly and it's quite staining. So I just bought this in a tube from Daniel Smith. I'll put that here. Gamboge I made myself in the shell when I was younger and a bit braver, but it's quite poisonous. The yellows tend to, orpiment has arsenic, I think, Okay, so what is interesting about this Prussian blue? First of all, just relate it to the yellow quickly, because when you mix the two, as someone called William Hooker did in the past, you have Hooker's green. So this is Hooker's green. So you can mix. So that's the first mixture. We are going to paint a horse because let's not be realistic. And they were done quite quickly, like a kind of production line, factory style of painting. So I will also do the same, also because I've got now less than 10 minutes. Okay, so that's a nice Hooker's green, and then let's use the Prussian blue and try to mix it with so this is Prussian blue. Hokusai, I think, also used Prussian blue, so it's the first modern synthetic pigment, which is interesting. And then going back to medicine again, apparently is also used in medicines for heavy metal poisoning. So I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. Both of them can be, of course, don't eat it. These are all art materials are basically poisonous, but this pigment apparently is also used for other reasons. Okay, that should be the green. And people really love this because to get a light, fast blue that could kind of replace lapis, which was expensive. So you have ultramarine, but you also have Prussian blue. I'll do the sugar in it as well. This is with the sugar. So Egyptian blue, they didn't know how to make that, so they synthesized this one. And it was actually accidentally created because the ingredients used to make this, I think one was tinted with blood, and which is interesting in itself, but also in making Prussian blue, what they really wanted to make was a kind of cochineal color, a carmine color, which actually is the third pigment. So this is handmade, not by me, but by someone from Etsy. Handmade carmine. So there's kind of actually a link between all of these. So carmine is the third color, and in making, they discovered the Prussian blue while trying to make carmine or cochineal. Cochineal is you can see this bright, bright, bright pink. They didn't use white as far as, so if anyone's wondering, they did not use white. This, of course, is white already. And in the watercolor tradition, I guess the white is the page or whatever. So carmine, trying to make this, found this, trying to make the carmine, but discovered Prussian blue. And then, of course, if you mix those two, you get a nice purple. So you see, you already got quite a few colors. Do this one. Excuse me. Not worrying too much about being in the lines or whatever, because it is fast and quick. So this word is carmine is interesting because carmine, kayamez in Farsi means red, or kind of, but it's not, there are two words for red. So this is a kind of darker, like an alizarin crimson sort of red. That's kayamez, crimson. And they're related to, so just in terms of the language, they're related. Look, that's bleeding into that. That's not very good. But you could mix those two and get a brown, you see? So let's do that. So you can, and then you, of course, you can mix, you know, whichever colors, whichever way. So now you're going to get a nice brown. Mix them all. Yeah, and this karamez is from qayan, which is an insect, which goes back to the cochineal, which of course is made from insects. Okay, let's do this person's robe, a nice kind of brown, khaki brown, which itself, the word khaki, hak, is from the word for soil. Okay, anyway. So this carmine is an old color. They knew about it for since antiquity. So this is carmine. Let's mix it with a bit of sugar actually. For that glossy finish. Now this, like I said, it was a trade secret to get this glossy finish, and the publishers of toy theaters would keep this under wraps. It's a beautiful bright pink color. I mean, as bright as you could get in Victorian times. Looks a bit brighter on Zoom. Okay. And so how they mix the beer and oxgall and ammonia, I don't know. This is something to experiment with. Oh, it creates a nice brown as well here. So these are kind of the colors. And then the last one is a soot black, which I'll upgrade by using this. I don't know if they would have had this, but this is a Chinese ink stick, which is going to be black, a carbon-based black, which is pretty much the same thing, but maybe ever so slightly better. I don't have my inkstone here, but we'll just grind quickly a little bit of black. Soot black. Or because we've got 10 minutes, so you'd have to grind that a little bit. However, I happen to have a quicker version of the Chinese ink. So I'll just pop that in here because it's going to be a bit quicker. That is a soot black. Quicker than grinding it. So the other thing is to say, or they would have ground all the pigments and made them up themselves, like I did with the gamboge. But that takes a while, and we're almost out of time. So let's quickly do the soot black, and this is going to be here. And it is quite dark. And then you see the effect when you mix, of course, this with the colors, you get all these other whatever hues. Actually, that's just gone black. Oh, that's a nice color. Okay. Or foliage or whatever. And that is pretty much it. Just a short and sweet talk on the toy theater. We have the plants represented. That's the gamboge. Put them out here. Then you have the animals, which is the carmine. and they were trying to get that color, but actually they synthesize one, so you have plants, animals, and humans in this, but no earth colors and minerals. And then we've made brown and purples and the green. Now about the green, Robert Louis Stevenson, I presume mixing a different formula. He described this green of the toy theatre as such a green of such savory greenness that today my heart regrets it, because he really loved the toy theatre. And sometimes as many as 20 shades could be mixed from these three primary, well, with the black. And there you have it. When it's dry, which is not dry yet because it's cold, it should have, the sugar one should have a nice kind of almost oily sheen to it, which is special. And that's it. So if there are any questions, I can't answer them now, of course, because this is a video, but I'll just write down my email quickly if anyone wants to email their questions. So that is, whoops, here, give my UCL email. Yeah. I'll just give my email. So I'm not an expert on toy theatre, so I'm learning myself, but it is a small and at yahoo.co.uk. And this, like I said, these colors, this is from the research I've done. It's not everything, not much else apart from what I've said is known about the toy theatres. Hope you enjoyed that and enjoy the rest of your symposium. Bye bye.